Good morning. This is Pierre Laguerre here, your daily motivator, always here to challenge, inspire, and motivate you. So today on episode 377, we're going to be talking about your convictions. Now, what exactly is your conviction? Your conviction is nothing more than your belief system, things you believe are so, and therefore you act on them. And you have a belief system when it comes to what you eat. You have a belief system of religion and how you think when it comes to the spiritual person that you are. You have a belief system even when it comes to how you should pay for a house, how long you should do it, and how you should pay for a car, meaning of the financial system, the way you handle your money. There's a belief system behind everything. And I'm here to challenge you to look at your convictions and decide whether or not some of these belief systems were handed down to you, or if they were things that you came up with because you actually learned about laws of operation in laws of how they operate, so that now you finally are convinced for yourself that, yep, I do this because I've learned how it operates. Does that make sense? Great. So come along. So number one thing that I have to say is that we have a conviction about what we should eat. Now, I don't know where in the world you grew up, but based on where you grew up, you ate certain food, and you have a staple of food and different things that you actually eat because that's how you grew up. That's what you ate. For me, there was cornmeal, there was rice, there was plantains. Okay, I don't mean to make you hungry, but here's the point. There are things that you are eating right now. They're based on what your parents ate. Simple as that. Now, as a result, of course, based on how these foods are treated, guess what? We end up with sickness and diseases based on what we've been feeding our bodies for years and years and years. Yeah, did I go there? I did. And guess what? As a result, we end up suffering. But now we have a choice. We could decide, okay, maybe some of these foods that are cultural are not necessarily good for me. So I need to find out what to do about it. And whether you go to a nutritionist or you go to a doctor when things really get bad and the doctor tells you, hey, you must do this. Now, finally, you're convinced enough to put a plan in place to take action in the opposite direction. And yes, you still love your comfort food, things that you grew up with, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. Because now you're finally learning there are different things that your body actually needs to live in this realm, to survive and thrive, more importantly. So your conviction brought you to a point where you finally made a decision to follow a new plan of action. It's the same thing with your finances. A lot of us have learned that it takes 30 years to pay off a house. But let me ask you a question. Who came up with that equation? And why is it that most people follow that equation? Again, because they've made peace with the fact that, well, I couldn't afford to pay for the house outright. Now, I've got a way to challenge you now. Is that necessarily true? No, not necessarily. Somebody convinced you that you needed to take 30 years to pay off a house. Somebody convinced you that you needed to take 6 years to pay off a car, right? And of course, it's the wisdom of the crowd. And I call it more the madness of the crowd based on a book I read a couple of years ago. But here's the point. Your conviction has led you to take an action that is not necessarily exactly good for you. Yeah, let's say that again. Your conviction brought you to a point of action where you're doing things that are more like common sense or the wisdom of the crowd, but it's not necessarily the best course of action for you. So my question to you now on your religious beliefs. Ooh, I'm going there, man. It's like sports and religion. Two taboo subjects, right? But money, I think, is the biggest taboo one, because everything we do ultimately resorts to what we get in this life, money-wise. And that says a lot about where we are. So your religious belief is absolutely causing you to take action on things now that are more wisdom of the crowd than it is stuff you've discovered. So I grew up Catholic, for example. There are certain things I just accepted because that's how I grew up. Well, it's the same thing for you. There are things you're accepting right now in your life because of the religion you grew up in. But until you make a decision and you've actually found out for yourself more about the spiritual life you're living, you're just going to take on whatever your parents passed on to you. And once you start searching for yourself, then you're going to actually discover why certain things are the way they are, why we live in an earth kingdom and there's a spiritual kingdom that supersedes the earth kingdom. And to give you a quick example, in the earth kingdom, the reality is that we have the law of gravity. That's a law. We are all convinced of that law, so much so that we know that, hey, if I drop something from the second floor, it will surely go down to the floor below, right? But there are things that actually kind of suspend the law of gravity. Let me explain. If you have a chair behind you and you plop down, yes, your butt is heading in the down direction, but suddenly the chair meets your butt and it holds you up. What the heck just happened? Well, the chair is standing on four legs and it's preventing the law of gravity from taking you all the way down to the ground. That's one example. But here's a better one that actually completely defies the law of gravity. Yet, guess what it is? It's another law. And again, we're talking about your convictions. You will not take action on something until you're convinced it's the right thing. The same way with buying and selling, by the way. So now, when it comes to flying on a plane, if I came to you 2,000 years ago and I said, I have this device, this object that can carry you from one country to another across the Atlantic or across the Pacific, you would think either I'm crazy, or when you saw it going and you saw it working, you would say that's a miracle. But in reality, now you're convinced that you can get on a plane, and because of the propellers on the plane and the way everything is set up on the plane, it has enough force to actually fight against gravity. But what's that? What's operating on the plane? There's the law of thrust. There's the law of lift. There are a number of laws that actually come together and they fight the law of gravity. Those laws end up superseding the law of gravity. Now, you get on a plane because now you're convinced that, wow, you may not have even learned anything about the laws. You may have gotten on a plane because everybody else gets on a plane and you see them making it safely to their destination. But in reality, it's because there's a law in operation. So today I'm here to tell you what laws are operating in the spiritual kingdom that you may not even be aware of. And because you're not aware of them, you're not taking certain actions in your life. Because you're not aware of those laws, you are basically sitting in a place where you're convinced of laws that are at the level of gravity as opposed to laws that are at the level of lift and thrust. So my point is simple for you today. Your convictions are causing you to take certain actions, but it's time for you to review your convictions, and it starts by looking at your belief system. This is a weekend reflection. I'm always thinking about things from this point of view, because if you're not getting the results you want, whether in your business, in your finances, in your life, in your health, all those things are just indicative of the fact that you are not operating according to laws that overcome the laws that are pulling you down. So I'm just inviting you, and if you want to hear more about this, go ahead, comment, review this episode, let me know, because there are laws on my part that I've discovered to live my life by. And by the way, sometimes we completely overlook these laws and we forget that they once put us above the law of gravity, so to speak. So my convictions have helped me to move to a different country and to live in a different place, and to really now learn to reap the results of my actions, my words. And your convictions are causing you right now to live by what you've always lived by, and to make the changes necessary in your life. I am here just to challenge you today to review your convictions and see how well they are lined up with the results you're looking to get. If they're not lined up with the results you're looking to get, it's time to review your belief system. The things you believe are so, when in reality they may just be common wisdom of the crowd, madness of the crowd. Don't be a madman or woman. Review your convictions and see why is it that you hold on to these convictions. This has been Pierre Laguerre, your daily motivator, always here to challenge, inspire, and motivate you. I look forward to catching you on the next episode. Have a great day.